Thousands of years before roads, ships, or compasses, humans somehow reached islands, frozen continents, and lands no one had ever seen before. Ancient humans crossed deserts, oceans, mountains, frozen lands, and dense forests long before modern tools existed. They had no planes, no cars, no Google Maps, no weather apps, yet they spread from Africa to nearly every continent on Earth. So how did they do it? The answer gets more surprising the closer we look, especially when we examine how ancient humans crossed massive oceans and navigated brutal Ice Age landscapes. This was not just some random wandering. Ancient travel was not a casual stroll through the woods. It was a high-stakes, survival-driven necessity. Ancient humans moved because they had to. They were pushed by the search for food, shifting climates, immediate danger, and the pressure of growing populations. They followed the rhythmic migration of animals, the winding flow of rivers, and the natural protection of coastlines. This human migration was a slow, incredibly risky process that unfolded over hundreds of generations. One single group may not have planned to travel the world, but their descendants kept moving just a little bit farther every decade. But walking only explains part of the story, because some places humans reached should have been almost impossible to get to on foot. Nature provided the first great highways for prehistoric travel: rivers and coastlines. These were the primary veins of movement for early people. Rivers acted like ancient highways because they provided a constant supply of fresh water, a steady source of food, and a clear sense of direction. Following a river meant you would never get lost in a featureless desert. Coastlines were equally important. By hugging the shore, people could follow seafood-rich areas and avoid the dangers of the deep interior. They didn't need road signs because the land itself gave them all the directions they needed. If the water was on your left and the mountains were on your right, you knew exactly where you were. We must remember that they were walking across a very different planet. During the Ice Age, the Earth looked nothing like the maps we study today. Sea levels were much lower because so much water was locked in massive glaciers. This created land bridges that are now deep underwater. The Bering Land Bridge connecting Asia and North America is the most famous example. It wasn't just a bridge, it was a vast doorway between continents. Other regions, like the area between Australia and Southeast Asia, were much closer together than they are now. These temporary land bridges made it possible for ancient humans to walk to places that today require a plane or a boat. But land bridges were only one part of the story. Some humans reached places where walking was simply not enough. This introduces the idea that ancient humans were far better travelers than we often imagine. They likely utilized simple rafts, dugout canoes, and reed boats to navigate. Even a basic boat made from hollowed logs or lashed bamboo could help people cross wide rivers, large lakes, and short sea gaps between islands. These early watercraft might not have looked advanced, but they were life-changing technology. They turned the water from a barrier into a path, allowing humans to colonize islands that were never connected to the mainland. So, how did they navigate the open sea without modern instruments? They used a method called island hopping. Ancient travelers didn't always cross huge oceans in one giant leap. Instead, they moved from island to island, using visible land as their guide. They became master observers of nature. They watched the flight patterns of birds to find land, tracked the movement of ocean currents, and studied the stars for orientation. They could even read the shape of clouds and the patterns of waves to tell if an island was hidden just over the horizon. They weren't lost at sea. They were reading signs that modern people wouldn't even notice. Their survival also depended on their incredible skills as animal trackers. Ancient humans were expert observers of the natural world. They followed animal migrations, noted footprints, and understood the seasonal patterns of the herds they hunted. This helped them survive in completely unknown lands. If the animals found water and food, the humans followed close behind. Travel was fundamentally connected to observation. The better you understood the animals and the plants, the farther you could safely go. The same skills used to track a single animal could eventually help humans track their way across an entire continent. Of course, none of this would be possible without the ultimate survival kit: fire, tools, and clothing. Fire provided warmth, protection from predators, and a way to cook food, which was essential for maintaining energy during long journeys. Stone tools allowed them to hunt, build shelters, and process animal skins. Clothing and portable shelters allowed humans to survive in colder regions that would have otherwise been deadly. Humans did not need modern machines because they had an incredible capacity for adaptability. Every new environment was a test of their ingenuity, and humans kept finding ways to pass those tests using the materials they found around them. There is another layer to this story that we often forget: the role of stories and memory. Before maps were ever drawn on paper, they were carried in people's minds. Knowledge was passed through oral traditions, landmarks, and stars. Older members of a group remembered safe paths, the location of hidden water sources, and the timing of seasonal changes. These stories were the first GPS systems. A song or a story could contain the directions to a fertile valley hundreds of miles away. By turning geographic data into memorable narratives, ancient humans ensured that the collective knowledge of the tribe would never be lost, even as they moved into new territories. So why did they keep moving into the unknown? Survival started the journey, but curiosity and the search for a better life pushed humans farther than necessity alone. Travel was dangerous, but staying in one place could be even more dangerous when the food disappeared or the climate shifted. Ancient humans were not primitive in the sense of being simple-minded. They were intelligent, observant, patient, and incredibly brave. They were driven by the same spirit of exploration that drives us today. The same need to explore, to escape danger, and to search for something better still exists in our DNA. The final reveal is that ancient humans didn't travel the world in one single heroic journey. Instead, they conquered the globe through millions of tiny, incremental movements over tens of thousands of years. They walked, followed the rivers, used the coastlines, crossed land bridges, built boats, tracked animals, and passed their wisdom from one generation to the next. It was a multi-generational relay race. Humanity didn't conquer the world overnight. We reached every corner of the planet one river, one coastline, one campfire, and one risky crossing at a time. This slow expansion is the greatest success story in the history of our species. So here is the real question to think about. If you had been born 30,000 years ago, would you have stayed with the safety of your tribe? Or would you have been the one to follow that unknown path beyond the distant horizon? Our ancestors chose to move, and because they did, we are here today. If you want to learn more about the incredible mysteries of our past and how early humans survived the harshest environments, make sure to check out our other videos. The journey of humanity is still being written, and the more we look back, the more we realize how far we have truly come. Humans are a migratory species by nature, and the evidence of our travels is etched into the very landscapes we inhabit. From the high mountain passes of the Andes to the remote islands of the Pacific, the footprint of ancient man is everywhere. They didn't have technology, but they had something much more powerful: the ability to learn, adapt, and remember. They transformed the entire Earth into their home, proving that with enough time and determination, no distance is too great to cover. Each step they took was a step toward the modern world we live in now. The story of human migration is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It reminds us that we are the descendants of the world's greatest explorers. They faced predators we can only imagine and climates that would freeze us in our tracks. Yet, they didn't just survive, they thrived. They turned the unknown into the known, and the wilderness into a home. As we look toward the future of space travel and the exploration of new frontiers, we should remember that our ancestors have already shown us the way. We are and have always been a species on the move, forever searching for what lies just beyond the next hill. In the end, the history of travel is the history of humanity itself. Every river crossed and every mountain climbed was a victory for our species. We aren't just people who live on a planet. We are people who explored it, mapped it with our feet, and claimed it with our campfires. Our ancestors' journey was the longest walk in history, and it is a journey that continues through us today as we keep looking for the next horizon. So, keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the path, because the spirit of the ancient traveler is still alive in every one of us.